All right, so Mark just reviewed that we have a quorum, and it looks like we've got the majority of the folks here that we need outside of the board. So what I'm going to do is read a real quick sort of procedural thing into the record, and then from there we will turn it over to our chair. So for folks who are attending the Design Review Board special meeting of the town of Waterford, this is a web-based call, and we are operating under the following procedures. This meeting is being audio and video recorded. A recording of this video will be available within 24 hours and will be posted to the town of Waterford's planning department website. To ensure good sound quality, the default rule for this meeting is that everyone will remain on mute unless they are speaking. If an attendee creates an audio or visual disruption, the Zoom moderator may place them on mute or remove them from the meeting if the disruption continues. This meeting is open to the public, however, it is not a public hearing. Therefore, comments will not be accepted from the general public at this meeting. Comments about the application may be made to the Planning and Zoning Commission in writing, by email, or at tonight's virtual public hearing via Zoom. That meeting begins at 6:30 p.m. and details about how to join the meeting are available at www.waterfordct.org. We appreciate your attendance at this meeting. Should you have any questions about the process, you may call our staff at 860-444-5813 between the hours of 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. And with that, I will turn it over to our chair.
Very good. All right. Meeting is called to order. We have 1, 2, 3. So we're not doing any alternates, correct? Okay. And item number 2, request of FabCon. Mark.
Yes. What I'd like to do is to do a roll call.
Mm-hmm.
We have attendance here, so I will call out the names, and if you're here, please respond. John O'Neill.
Here.
Bill McNulty. He's on mute.
Mute.
Bill McNulty.
Who's here?
Good. Bob Nye. Here. Ed Flagree.
Here.
Good. And Joy Merrill. Oh, it's just
Joy is attempting to join.
Hang on a minute, get her response. Joy just came on as I was calling roll.
Joy, are you able to hear us? It looks like Joy is here.
Here.
There she is. All right.
Sorry.
Okay, we're all here.
Welcome.
Thank you. Okay, now we can go ahead and proceed. Thank you.
All right. So first up, request of FabCon precast applicant for a special permit and site plan approval, construct a concrete product manufacturing facility. Gentlemen and ladies. Mute.
Seamus, you're still on?
Muted.
There we go.
You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think I'd figured this out by now. Well, good evening, I guess. Good afternoon. My name is Seamus Moran. I work for Lorero Engineering Associates. I'm a professional engineer in Connecticut. I am representing the applicant, FabCon Precast. It's care of Jeff Prince, who's also with us on the phone. Our project team consists of myself and Clint Brown, who I don't see him on here. We are from Lorero. Jeff Prince from Daycon Corporation is the design build firm. He has joined us. Cindy Reynolds, who is also on the phone, is also with Lorero. It's actually a little subsidiary of Lorero. It's called CR3 Studio. At Lorero, they're our landscape architecture division. And it looks like Mark Peterson and Don Smith, both of FabCon Precast, are on the line as well. I think they are here more to witness than to present. So, so that is essentially our team. Our project is located at 140 Waterford Parkway South. It's adjacent to the Coca-Cola facility. It's just east of the Coke facility, just south of I-95. It's the former site of the Waterford Airport. Actually, before I go any further, Abby, do you have a chance to pull up that? Look at that. She's already beating me to it. I have a presentation that might help as I tend to get ahead of myself a little bit. This way you guys can see where we are and what we're presenting.
Okay, can you see can you see my screen?
I can
should
see your folder.
But not the
Oh.
actual.
All right, let's try that again. How about now?
There we
Got
go.
it.
Yep.
So that is the slide I just went over. So we are FabCon Precast. Abby, if you could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So as I mentioned, it's the 140 Waterford Parkway South. It's just east of the Coca-Cola facility, just south of I-95. It's the former Waterford Airport, if you guys are familiar with that, which is an operation from 1945 to 87. After that went defunct, there was a 25 lot commercial subdivision that was approved in the early 1990s. A portion of that subdivision was constructed before they moved out. So the entryway that's into the site right now was constructed back in the early 1990s as part of that subdivision. Abby, if you could move to the next slide, please. The site is approximately just under 189 acres. That's the entire parcel. Jordan Brook kind of bisects the parcel. So the east of Jordan Brook is where our site area is, and that makes up about 97 acres. As I mentioned, Jordan Brook bisects the property. So Jordan Brook is actually in the west of our development. Nevins Brook is on the east of our development. There are currently several dilapidated buildings from the defunct airport that was in operation until 87. And as I mentioned, the entrance that's there now was constructed in the early 90s as part of the 25 lot commercial subdivision. Lastly, there's some utilities on the site. Water, sanitary sewer, and electric are all there, and gas is located just off the property in Waterford Parkway South. Next slide, please. This here is just an overall existing conditions. It shows the 189 acres. It shows Jordan Brook bisecting the property down the middle, kind of near the pinch points. Our site is east of Jordan Brook. You can see, probably can't see, but there's some existing infrastructure. The roadway that's on there is currently constructed, and that was that roadway constructed as part of the 1990 subdivision. Next slide, please. So what we're proposing to do is redevelop the site. It's in need of some work. It's a great piece of property. It just hasn't been developed in quite some time. So we're looking on that 97 acres to the east of Jordan Brook. We're looking to redevelop about 42 acres of that. We will remove all the existing buildings and structures and construct a new 130,000 square foot building with a little over an 18-acre storage yard. We're going to add a parking lot, a 60-car parking lot, along with access drives around the building and through the storage yard. We're going to connect new water lines out to the 12-inch main in Waterford Parkway South and connect to the existing sewer and utilize the on-site. We're going to connect to the existing power that's on site. And lastly, we're going to extend the gas main. So next slide, please. We are proposing significant stormwater improvements, which I will not get into, other than to tell you we are proposing 5 infiltration basins and 4 subsurface infiltration practices to mitigate the increase in stormwater. If you're interested in that, we can go into the detail, but that's essentially it. We're adding a bunch of pretreatment and some stormwater infiltration practices for pollution control and maintenance of peak rates and volumes. Next slide, please. So with that, that's generally the site as I can present it. Cindy, who's with us on the phone, will talk about the site lighting and the landscaping. So I think I will pass it over to her. So she will discuss lighting and landscaping, go over the landscaping plan with you, the overall that we have, and also the photometric plan. And then she will pass it off to Jeff Prince, who will talk about some of the architectural plans and the renderings. Unless you have any immediate questions that need answering now. Otherwise, I think Cindy can take it away. Excellent. All right, Cindy, do you mind?
Not at all. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you this afternoon. Again, I'm a landscape architect. I work with Seamus, and we've been moving through the FabCon project. If we can please move on to the next slide, I believe the the lighting plan is available. Oh, no, it's not. That's fine. We can go back up one. We'll go through lighting first, and then we'll look at the plan after we talk a little bit about each piece. So for site lighting, we had kind of two goals with the lighting. Obviously, we needed to provide lighting for the facility to function. And that did include some taller poles, which would be needed in the storage facility area, which are 40 feet tall. They need to be that tall because of some specialized cranes that are going to be working in that area that are themselves quite tall. So to prevent damage, we needed to get the lighting up above. In the drive areas and parking lots, we're looking at using 25-foot poles, trying to limit how many poles we need. And because of the height of these poles, we did want to use 3,000 Kelvin light fixtures. So that's kind of as dim as we can reasonably go and still get the illumination to throw the way it would need to. So in addition to that, we are using dark sky compliant fixtures so that we're limiting light pollution as much as possible. And we have selected fixtures which can be adapted and arranged so that there is very little spill that happens in directions we don't want. So fixtures that are closer to the perimeter, we're able to make it so that they throw light almost entirely in front of them without falling back towards the wetlands and sensitive ecosystems, and where possible, keeping it away from the residences, which are towards the back of the site. Okay, I think for lighting that about does it.
I have a question, Cynthia.
Yes, ma'am.
What are the hours of operation?
That actually, I don't know off the top of my head. Seamus?
Yeah, so if we wait till, so Jeff Prince will present the architectural plans and the rendering, and you can get into some of the site operations at the end of that.
Curious. Okay.
Oh, it's a good question. Yeah, so we'll get to that a bit later. Okay, so for lighting, does anyone have any questions before we move on? We can look at the layout a bit more when we have the plan up. Okay, could we please move to the next slide? Thank you. So when it came to the site landscaping, we had a desire to keep as much of the existing vegetation as possible. This was especially important for us along the residential properties and as we move out towards the wetland areas. We also wanted to be respectful of the town's desire to have a complete visual screen. And in the interest of kind of balancing these two things, so back up half a step. So for the IP1 zone, which is the zone that we're in, the complete visual screen can be kind of a row of two rows of evergreens that will create a really just kind of a green wall or a green Band-Aid, as we sometimes call it. So that's kind of what's delineated in the regulations. But in the interest of keeping the naturalized feel that's already there and trying to keep and work with existing vegetation, the team said, okay, well, why don't we just increase the buffer more than what is necessary? So we more than doubled it. You only call for 40 feet and we're providing about 100 feet. And instead of providing 2 rows of evergreen trees or shrubs, we're taking the screening plant material and incorporating it among the existing material at different depths so that we're basically creating a denser woodland look so that when people from the highway or when the residences are looking in, instead of seeing a green wall, they're seeing what looks to be more of an evergreen section of the forest. So that's the goal
Cindy?
and the concept.
I believe there is a landscape plan in this set. If you wanted to refer to it, you could probably flip down.
We got that in our package.
Okay. That's kind of the driving forces of our buffer approach and our general planting approach. When we get into, actually, Jeff has a good idea. Let's move to the, can we please move down to the plan? Thank you. I find I'm thinking more of my memory of the plan than I am looking at the slide notes. So, so when we get into the storm, the stormwater runoff treatment that Seamus had mentioned that had been designed, you'll see scattered around the site, there's 5 different areas that are kind of these green shapes with the gray outlines. And those are the detention basins. Seamus, is that the right term? Detention basins, or are they infiltration?
They're doing both. They're infiltrating, but they're also detaining runoff for the peak rate. So
Okay.
you can call it a detention basin. That sounds great.
So it's okay that I'm confused. I'm still right. So what we're looking to do with those areas is use native wildflower seed mixes so that they're recreating natural habitat and really reintroducing species which will be beneficial to the local ecosystem, and hopefully, kind of spread out and enhance their surrounding systems as well over time. And we are taking that treatment of the wildflower seed mix, and the entire perimeter of the disturbed area is going to be treated in that way. So instead of having these manicured lawns, we're going to have these meadow areas that are going to evolve over time with minimum maintenance. And typically once or twice a year, you'll need to go through and mow to keep like too many trees from growing where you don't want them and maintain the meadow feel. But it's much less intensive, not a lot of chemicals, not a lot of fertilizers, it pretty much takes care of itself, which next to these wetlands is really a nice thing. You'll see that we did include a whole bunch of material along the Jordan Brook area. We wanted to be sure that we could cool the water as much as possible. So in these areas where water will be flowing towards Jordan Brook, we were trying to create some shade. We've introduced shade trees along that area where the disturbances have been happening, as well as a lot of shrub material to try to mitigate the disturbance in terms of what's closest to the wetlands in the brook. Similarly, along the other basins, we've also introduced the taller plant material and shrubs to, again, help shade the water, cool it down before it distributes back out into the natural systems. The only area that we have more formalized planting is over by the office entry and parking. Yep. So we were thinking in that area, we would have a couple sections of lawn for employees to be able to go outside and, maybe eventually they'll put a picnic table or even just sit on the grass. And then just some nicer, simple perennial beds that would be by the entry just to spruce it up, make it a little more welcoming, and make sure that they can keep it nice and neat and clean. Okay, let's see. I think that about sums it up. If there are any questions about the planting, I tend to just kind of steamroll through. So does anyone have any questions before we let Jeff take it from here?
I have a question.
Yes.
You said you're going to have 100-foot buffer undisturbed of what's there now.
Yes.
The southeast area where the residencies are, that only looks about 50 feet, and it looks like you got another 60 to 70 feet where the roadway, I assume that's the roadway going around the storage area. So my question is, why are you clear cutting all that area? Why don't you leave it natural? Or is it being left natural and it's just not on the plan?
So the existing vegetation unfortunately doesn't show up very well because it just happens to be where the existing edge of woods are. That line cuts through an area that will be cleared. However, you'll see that thick dashed line that goes around the perimeter of the white. Mm-hmm. That's the limit of clearing. So the planting that we're showing between that and the property line has minimal disturbance to it. As much of the existing vegetation as possible is going to be maintained. And those plants will not go exactly where they're shown because they're going to be planted among existing material. So they'll be brought in and planted in such a way that there'll be minimal disturbance to existing, but it'll enhance the buffer effect of that space.
So if I understand you right, that line, that dotted line is the extent of the plantings from there to the property line, which is not 100 feet. I'm confused because it says you're not gonna take out original plantings within 100 feet of the property line, but it looks like you are.
That is 100 feet, Mr. McNulty. And then it's another 100 feet from that dashed line to the road, approximately. It's approximately 200 feet to the road from the property line. And approximately the first 100 of that will be existing plantings supplemented with new plantings.
Which road are you talking about? I'm confused.
The on-site loop road in the back.
Abby, would you be able to
I'm more
zoom
worried
in?
about where the residents, I'm more worried about where the residents are, not where your roadway.
Down at the bottom.
Oh yeah, so it's an access drive, not specifically a road. It's an access drive for the storage area.
Right, but this is,
Right.
So the question is, between the roadway and where you show the dotted line, what is there for plantings?
So if
Why,
I could
why are
jump-
you, why are you even clearing that area? That's my question.
are you talking about Devonshire?
Yes.
Okay,
She's got her hand right where I'm asking about.
So if I could jump in for a second. So you can see the dark dotted line.
Yes.
Yeah.
And between there and the road to the north, that's part of the storage yard. So between the dash line that you see and the property line, which is to the south, that's 100 feet. So that's, yeah, so where 40 feet is required between our property and residential properties, we have 100 feet shown. So that area where all those proposed plantings are, and you can't really see, there's an existing tree line mixed in there. And those trees in that existing tree line, which we didn't go out there and locate every single tree within the clearing limits, within the tree line. But that will remain, and we will be infilling with all of these plantings that you see
Well,
here in front of you.
using the scale of your plan, that's only about 60 feet. So that's why I'm confused. You said it's 100, but on the scale, it's 60. And I was going to ask why you couldn't fill in more between the road and the dotted line or the access road.
So it is 100 feet. I'm not sure if the scale was indicated wrong on the plan. I'm not sure. But it is 100 feet between the edge of the property line and the edge of the storage yard. And the rest of that is north of that dotted line is the storage yard.
Well, your scale says an inch is 60 feet, just so you know, and that's about an inch that you got where the plantings are.
Okay. So
So
these overall
Either
scale
your plan is wrong or your presentation is wrong.
to the plan, it's 100 feet. So maybe the plan is indicated incorrectly. Maybe rather than, if it does say 1 inch equals 60 feet, it's supposed to say 1 inch equals 120 feet.
So you are going to try and leave the tall trees there. That was really the
Yes.
real question.
Yeah, we are definitely going to try to maintain the tall trees that are in there. Those will be so helpful in, keeping the natural feel and kind of meeting the goals of the planting for the project.
Well, also the line of sight with the residents, because that's,
Exactly. Yep.
okay, thank you.
Sorry for the confusion on that. We'll definitely double check those scale numbers and figure out where they're going wonky. Were there any other questions for the planting, any other clarifications or lighting before we move on to Jeff's section of the
I apologize. I was reading the scale wrong.
Oh,
120, but
I have to apologize. That is 100 feet, sorry.
oh, well, that's good. It saves us a little bit of reworking. Don't feel bad. I have done that myself before where I misread those scales. So
I just want to say that I think the idea of introducing pollinator and natural habitat plants like milkweed and stuff is commendable. Thank you.
oh, thank you. Yes, we are working with the wetland scientist on that. So yeah, there was great suggestions from them on species to include. So yeah, we were pretty excited that that's going to be able to be a part of the project.
Excellent. Thank you, Cindy. I was also pleased that there will be some removal of some of the invasive species on the first round here. Get what we can get, you know, so that when we're putting these plants in, they're not going to get all choked up immediately. So it's all excellent. Seamus, how was this arranged? Do you remember?
I think if you go right to the next sheet, okay, so I'm sorry. So these are the photometric plans. It's really tough to see on this scale. If you could zoom in, you can see some of the foot candle numbers on here. And Mark, the town had asked us to give an outline. They asked late last week to give an outline of where it goes from the 0.1, which is a foot candle, to the 0.0, which is where there's no trespass of light. And it's supposed to show that where the trespass of light reaches. And we can prepare an outline of where that line gets to. But just so you know, we tried to limit the amount of trespass beyond where it has to go. You know, we have lighting fixtures on the sides of the road. We do not have fixtures that go, they're not set back 20 feet from the road. They, whatever the minimum is provided and proposed here. So this was provided in the packets. I'm sure if you scroll along on your plans, if you're looking through it, you can see wherever it shows 0.0, that's a 0.0 foot candle. There's no light at that location. Yep, thank you. So as you see, you can see some of the light fixtures are shown on the plan, and wherever it gets to the 0.0 is where the light stops. Does not go beyond that limit. So there's not much to present on the photometric plan, other than, you know, as you're reviewing it, as you're looking at it in person in a hard copy, it's a little bit easier to see. One thing that I think Abby is zooming in to allude to is that one light fixture on the right-hand side, on the east side, yep, is a little bit too close to the road, and the light trespass ends up on Waterford Parkway South. You can see there's some 0.3, 0.2. So we're gonna have to pull that light fixture back a hair. It looks like maybe 20 feet or so, pull it to the south a hair, just so it does not, light trespass does not go beyond the property line to the north into Waterford Parkway South. So I think that's the only fixture that needs a little bit of modification, and we can just pull that back a hair. I think the next slide is probably the storage yard. Yep, storage yard photometric plan. Again, same thing. If you zoom in, you can see where the foot candles are. You can see that there's no light trespass. You can see where the 0.0s are. They're essentially in the middle of that section of the storage yard. They're not even at the lighting. I'm sorry, not even at the edge of the storage yard. So that carries itself around. It's mostly just for some access for safety reasons around the storage yard. So there's really not much to see on this plan. There's a lot of numbers that if you're looking at it in a hard copy, it's easy to see. It's tough to tell on this plan. So if there are any questions, we can field those, or otherwise Jeff can move on to his next, the architectural aspect of the building.
I had one quick question related to the photometric plan, although my immediate question is related to the building. Back here in the storage area, that's where the 40-foot towers are, with 4 fixtures each, as I understand.
Yep.
What is the height of the building? We didn't get any elevations with this, so just trying to figure out how much of these lights are we going to see past the building from 95 or Parkway South.
You'll probably see the majority of them. The building is 25 foot for 50% of it, and another 40% of it is 50 foot tall. So the building does have some height, but it's only in the center for the most part. And the rest of the building is in the 25 to 40 foot height. Now there is a lot of shape to the building. So
Mhm.
the front of the building presents a lower walls than the back of the building. Let me give you a little bit of a overview. I can't use my pointer, so I'll do the best I can. At the bottom of the plan, you'll see that there's sort of two wings, one on the right side, one on the left side, and a box in the middle. So on the left side is what's called overrun, and the overrun will also contain an area where they'll move pallets about. So what happens in this building is they make very large objects.
Mhm.
They make wall panels, and those wall panels can be up to 13 foot wide and 70 foot long. But they're poured in casting pellets that are even longer than that. So inside the building, there's 300 foot long by 14 foot wide casting pallets that move in a circle inside the building. So they are able to move laterally and vertically and in all directions, so that they can be prepared and filled, and that so that they can then take cured product, cut it into pieces, and ship it out of the building. So the building is a process contained inside of an enclosure. The process is a concrete batch plant. It is casting of concrete panels. It has a wood shop, a steel shop, a maintenance shop, a compressor room, an office area, and places to wash concrete off of machinery so it doesn't get hardened. There's also a place where we do quality control and places where we take care of recycling water. So the process is quite complete. It is a state-of-the-art process. And it leads us to a building that has a couple of wings. The wings are lower, 25 feet, but there's very tall portions of the building. So there is aggregate bins to the northeast, which is about in the center bottom of this picture. And the aggregate bins are enclosed in a building portion that is 50 foot tall. So it looks like a very large 50 foot by 25 foot wide section of building. The other thing that happens is that in the front of the building is where the cement silos are located. So those reach the tallest height at the building at about 65 feet for the cement silos, but the roof that they sit on is only 25 foot tall. In the center is where casting is done. And in the bottom center is where trucks drive through the building. So they approach from the north and they drive through the south and then continue on to the yard to drop off finished product. There is an office area to the east of the plan, up at the top of the sheet on the top of the floor plan is where the office area is located. And that will be sufficient for 60 employees, including sales and engineering and administration, production folks, and maintenance folks, etc. So the floor plan is fairly complete. I think you're probably more interested in what the building looks like. Let's flip to the next sheet. And this starts to show the elevations of the building. On the top elevation, you can see the office area, which is aluminum and glass and precast concrete. So strangely enough, we're going to use precast concrete wall panels on the front face of the building. But most of the back faces, most of the set back faces are going to be an insulated metal panel. So again, we have a very long elevation where there's precast concrete for most of the elevation, but the items that are set back are generally a metal panel. And so we're going to have natural concrete finished precast panels, which means that they'll be predominantly a light gray, neutral gray. That doesn't mean they'll be unpainted. They will be painted and stained to achieve a consistent look and an upgraded look. The metal panel color selection is underway, but we hope that there will be an earth tone of either the blue logo color that is their color, or a green or a sand color, all of which are available from the metal panel manufacturer, but they would be earth tones, not bright tones. And the metal panel will face predominantly west, while precast faces predominantly east. There will also be, from the road, you'll be looking at the north elevation. That's predominantly precast, but there will also be metal panel available for view from the north end or the south end. Could we flip, please? Flip again, please. So this is a rendering of the building. This would be if we stood maybe at the old Waterford Parkway South cul-de-sac, and if there were no trees in our way, we would be able to see this building that is 800 feet long. It's 70 feet wide at the two 25-foot high ends. The middle is 50 foot tall. You can see the cement tanks I talked about on the low roof. You can also see the tall section where the aggregate bins are enclosed with the conveyors that go up and down. So gravel trucks bring gravel in, the gravel is dumped into a pit. It's brought up a conveyor into the inside aggregate bins where the aggregates are kept tempered so that they don't freeze. Then the aggregates are lifted into the batch plant, the concrete batch plant, which is inside the building. Trucks will deliver foam products at the center of the building. They'll also deliver hardware and steel and form and lumber materials to the other side of the building in about the same location. Employees would drive down to the far end of the building where the office is, got a parking lot immediately out front. So we would be looking at the private road here, not at Waterford Parkway. This is not the view from Waterford Parkway. This street would, if anything, be the street that would be on site, but this rendering was actually created before we had the site finalized. And we took a pretty good stab at what we thought we would be looking at any site. So there is the extension from Waterford Parkway. There's a road that will come down. It will extend southerly. If we look across that road to the west, this is the plant that we'll see. The front is precast concrete. You'll see some trim. There will be trim on the building, making some horizontal lines to help to reduce the height of the building and to incorporate the color of the metal panel throughout the facility so that it becomes looking like one harmonized building. So again, the building materials are simple. They're precast concrete, insulated hollow metal panel, aluminum and glass, two major materials, two different colors, and all equipment and operations are contained inside the building with the exception of moving and storage of finished product and the unloading of materials at the building. Is there more attached to this? I don't think I want to see elevations again. Did the site section make it into this presentation, Seamus?
No, the section did not make it into this one.
Okay, that's fine. Then I am all set, and unless somebody has some questions, be happy.
The only thing was Joy had mentioned the hours of operation.
Forgive me, the hours of operation. This will be a 3-shift operation, but it will start as a 2-shift operation. So that means that all portions of the facility get used for 3 shifts.
I have an interior design question.
Okay?
I think the plant's probably quite noisy. What do you do for noise abatement?
The plant is not actually that noisy. On the inside of the plant, most people do not require hearing protection. There are noisy operations. There are noisy pieces of equipment which are mitigated. So if there was a fan outside that was noisy, it will have an acoustic enclosure. If there's a boiler or a chiller outside, it will be rated for its particular use. And we have calculated what its noise impact is on the neighborhood and at the property line. So we expect to be fully compliant with the noise regulations of the town of Waterford.
Okay, thank you.
I guess there's no like, you said there's going to be some landscaping, but it's going to be on the south end where the parking and the entrance is.
I think it's fair to say that there's landscaping that's going to occur throughout the site.
No, I meant specific up against the building itself.
I think the formal landscaping at the building occurs right at the office area, and the remainder of it will be more informal. Is that correct, Cindy?
That is correct. And we did not propose kind of traditional foundation plantings around the building, but we are showing, if you look at the plan, you'll see that in the space between the drives and the building, there are trees that would be planted, which
Right.
would help to kind of break up and shade the area, screen the building.
All right, one concern that I still have is the height of those lights out in the back storage yard there. I'm looking at the Google Earth rendering entitled Ground Level View at Devonshire.
Yes,
This one.
yes.
So what we're not seeing in this is those towers, which would be lit up just to the left or just to the right of where the building has been rendered in this photograph, and to the left of the house that's shown. So that, am I correct in that assumption?
You are correct, except for that I want to further demonstrate what that rendering was trying to demonstrate. If I could, Mr. O'Neill. The view from Devonshire, we had 2 kinds of views from Devonshire. One was about 1,000 feet in the air. And then we brought the view down to ground level. And then we moved the view over about 20 feet, showing that the ornamental plant right in the front yard of that particular residence would block any and all view of the plant without additional landscaping. And the other thing we wanted to demonstrate with that view was that the plantings at the property line do the majority of the buffering and screening from the facility, and that you would not be able to see the facility or its lights if the buffering and screening was fully developed. And so when Cindy talks about all of the plantings, if we looked at the existing Google Earth and then we imagine that all the plantings were filled in, where there's not tall trees, we're planting trees, where there's not medium-sized shrubs, we're planting them, where there's not low shrubs, we're planting them, so that we filled all of that entire buffer so that you can't see through it. Okay, so while it's difficult to explain what happens in view when you come down, the purpose of those several views was to demonstrate that the vegetative screening will be very helpful to block the view from Devonshire.
Very good. Since they weren't included in these Google renderings, I just wanted to make sure that we were talking about the same spot. Okay.
We are, and that particular residence has a little bit of a break in their backyard screening, which is where you see that the screening becomes more dense in the landscape plan.
Mhm.
I got a question. I'm not sure it's under the design review purview, but I want to get back to your 3-shift operation. Are those going to be 3 full shifts? I mean, are the trucks going to be going at the same rate your traffic plan had, or would you have a reduced off shift? Are the 3 shifts equal in what they do? I guess I'm trying to get an idea as to, I'll say it
The
again.
3 shifts are equal in what they do. However, we do understand that we have certain types of nighttime restrictions so that we can comply with the noise regulations. And those nighttime restrictions just include some understanding of the types of vehicles and their proximity to the property line in the event that it's after the nighttime hours of 9 p.m., I believe is what the local sound ordinance is. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, I think you're going to get a lot more questions at the regular planning and zoning than you're going to get here.
Thank you, Mr.
on
Pellegrini.
that subject.
There any other questions from Joy or Bill?
I don't think so.
All right. Very good. Well, I am very pleased with the landscape choices. I like the Winterberry and the lots of native maples, birches, things like that. It all seems to be very nice in keeping with the existing landscape, and it sounds like you intend to integrate that well. So very good. As I've said, my biggest concern is with the lighting at night. I understand the need for the 40-foot tall towers with the kind of work that's going to be done out there. It must be done safely around cranes and that sort of thing. I'm just wanting to make sure that everybody knows what they're looking at, because it's one of those that you really can't tell what it is until it's there.
Built.
So, very good. All right. So Mark, how would we like to proceed from here? Should we discuss this
Yeah,
all together?
certainly, if you I don't know if there's any more discussion amongst the members of the board itself. But at this stage, certainly one of the options would be, if you wanted to, would be to pretty much entertain a motion. If there are any conditions that you would like to see implemented that we can forward to the Planning and Zoning Commission, we can certainly do that. Prior, and that can be incorporated into the motion as well. So if you need any additional information, you can request that. But if the board is satisfied with the information presented in the presentation, they can certainly go from here.
All right, Bill, Joy, Ed, how do we feel about this?
Bob's here too.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry?
Bob's in the office.
Oh, and Bob, very good. I thought I heard your name earlier, but I didn't see you up here. All right, very good, Bob.
Bob,
Yep. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve, given that they comply with lighting and noise standards of Waterford, which they say they're going to do. So I guess I'll make a vote for approval.
Second.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor? Ed's motion as noted. Bill, you have a.
I agree. I thought I was off mute here. Am I
All
on?
right.
Yeah, I'm in favor.
Okay, all in favor? Very good.
Aye.
What I'd like to do at this point, John, is let's take a roll on the vote.
Okay,
So let me start with you, John O'Neill,
in favor.
Bill McNulty,
In favor.
Ed Pellegrini,
In favor.
Joy Merrill,
In favor?
Bob Nye. In favor. Thank you. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Commission.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your professional review.
Certainly. Very good.
All right, next item on the agenda.
Yes, item 3, election of officers.
Now, there was, just to bring everybody up to speed here, at the last meeting in July, John was elected as chair of the board, but it was a consensus of the board to table the election of the board secretary to this meeting. So that is what is open for vote.
Do we have any nominations or volunteers?
No.
John, would you be willing to chair? Do you have a problem with my nominating you?
Oh, no, I have no problem with that. I thought we were looking for, was it,
Pretty voted chair at the last meeting.
I thought it was gonna be revoted this week. Okay, sorry.
There's no reason to revote it.
So we have the opening for secretary. Anyone?
No, thank you.
Not much to do, right?
Not much to do. I mean,
Mark does the minutes, so.
Mark does most of the work.
Well, I'm not up for a vote.
All right, I'll volunteer to be secretary.
I second him.
Thank you, Bob.
Good, thank you. Okay,
What else? Is there a vice chair,
no, that's it.
that's it, the chair, second, that's all we got.
All right. Do we need to vote on that?
You should, for good measure.
We should, yeah.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the slate as moved?
Motion made.
Second?
I'll second.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We don't need a roll for that one.
Roll call. Right. I'm still getting used to this format.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you have the minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Has everybody got the minutes and been through them?
Well, we just got the new ones just recently,
Right.
so.
I move to accept the minutes.
Second.
Second. All in favor of accepting the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, May 11th. Okay.
No, are we doing July 13th or May 11th here, Mark?
We're doing the July 13 minutes.
July 13th ones. Okay.
Yes, you were sent, unfortunately, you were sent the wrong set. So the July 13 is what we just would have received this afternoon.
I don't seem to have those in front of me.
They're in your email, I think, John. They went out late.
Okay, well, I was at that one, so.
And do we have any ideas on things that might be coming up in the near future?
We got coming up. I don't know of anything on the commercial.
Not in the very near future, not in the next month or so.
Okay,
Someone could apply with the site plan that we're not aware of, but right now, this is this was the big one, and there are some things that may hit perhaps toward the end of the year or into the new year, but for now, there's not a lot.
Okay.
Very good. See.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I think that's it. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion that we adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye now.